Today you're going to hear from a repeat guest of the show, Ellen Perez. We caught up with Ellen at the WTA Finals where she was the first alternate. And if you remember, we chatted with her and Nicole Melichar-Martinez, her doubles partner, back in Toronto, and they went on to have a really successful fall. So we talk in this conversation a little bit about that. And at the beginning of the conversation, we're actually watching the end of one of the matches there at the WTA Finals on the TV. And Ellen kind of talks us through what's going on during some of the points. She talks us through how to play some of the players on the court. So you get a little bit of insight there. We tried to edit it down a little bit because there's a lot of dead space in between the points and things like that. So it's a little slow, but you do get some good insights there before we dive into the interview, which starts a minute or two into this episode. And then during the interview, Ellen talks about how she gets started in tennis, and you get some really good takeaways from how a player at the professional level manages singles versus doubles. So she's still trying to make it in singles, crack that top 100-ish ranking or so. And she's hovered around 200 for a while, and her singles ranking has kind of fluctuated. And then obviously she's made it in doubles. So we talk a lot about how she manages that, as well as her experience at the WTA Finals, what went so well for her and Nicole throughout the fall, and plans for 2023. So this is a brief conversation, but it is a good one with some good insights into the professional doubles life. So I hope you enjoy this conversation with Ellen Perez. Hey everyone, we're live here with Ellen Perez and Hanlon Walsh back on the show. Ellen, this is your second appearance on the show, and we're watching Dabrowski, Olmos, and Kitchenak Ostapenko. It's 8-7 in the third, now 8-all. Let's talk through these last few points here before we get to the interview. What are you seeing so far?
I'm seeing that this could go either way, really. I feel like the momentum was started out with Gabby and Juju. And then obviously Ostapenko and Luda took the lead for a little bit, but there's been a lot of easy errors coming from them. So we'll see.
Forehand error there from Ostapenko in the net. And now Dabrowski. Is she serving next? It's 9-8.
Ostapenko hasn't been as solid on return, actually.
What do you think the call was? Gabby's serving.
Okay, here we go. So Gabby's serving, Juju at the net. I think they're in I.
Forehand. Oh, backhand.
They went backhand, Ostapenko down the line return.
They should have gone
There's
forehand.
There's a glare.
Maybe.
I can't see. What happened?
They should have listened to Ellen and gone forehand. Backhand.
She got burned on that earlier in the match, though. I think late first set. That was Juju, though.
Yeah, it's a bit of a balance between choosing to go maybe your strength versus the opponent's strength or weakness. And sometimes you want to do the element of surprise. I think they maybe had been going a few times to the forehand of Ostapenko and wanted to maybe surprise her there.
Yeah, it seems like you can beat Ostapenko's forehand with a little pace if you rush it a little bit.
Yeah, she likes it. She has a big swing. She goes for it. So
right.
It's a little bit riskier. If she connects well, you're in trouble.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's kind of what the idea is there.
Big shot by Kitchenak.
So now Kitchenak and Ostapenko have a shot to serve it out up 10-9 here.
Will this eliminate Gabby and Juju if they lose this, or will they still be in it?
I think it guarantees that they can't make the final two. They could play for 3 and 4.
They lost in straight sets.
Yeah, then it would.
Wouldn't help their cause.
Yeah, I don't think they're totally eliminated. I think they needed one set here, but they need a lot of help.
Well,
oh, wow.
There's some big help.
There's
Overhead straight net by Ostapenko, I think her second one of the match breaker.
That adds to the easy ones that they've missed in this time.
Oh, that was right on the net.
What would you tell your partner right now if they just missed an overhead on match point?
Get off the court. No, I'm just joking. No, I'm super supportive and like, no worries, we'll get it back and just move on with it type of thing.
Second serve for Kitchenak.
Ooh.
Gabby's pumped.
She took a risky serve +1 down the line and missed it in the net.
It's been paying off for her though. Gabby's been moving a lot, crossing a
Right.
lot. I think Kitchenock's actually burned her a few times with that line ball, so I think
Yeah.
Gabby was holding in that situation, and it was obviously a risky ball to take line, but
Yeah. It looked like Juju had decent depth on that return too.
there it is.
Oh, wow. Big win for them on Juju's serve, 12-10.
Serve. Yeah, served to the backhand Ostapinko, and they closed it out.
So are
Wow, that's
Ostapinko
big.
and Kitchenock eliminated now that they're 0-2? So they've lost 2 3-setters.
They were both 3-setters, so I think they're still in.
Okay. Well, Saturday will certainly be interesting.
We'll see how it goes.
Juicy.
So, Ellen, welcome back to the show. You're here in Fort Worth as the first alternate. Just barely missed the top 8. How's the week been so far, though?
Week's been okay. It's been very interesting. It's a case of, being grateful to be here, but also a little bittersweet not being able to play. It's, an interesting schedule we have to follow, having to be ready to be able to go on court maybe for 3 o'clock and then come back and maybe have to go on second after 7 p.m. and things like that. So it's not obviously the ideal situation, but it is nice to just be here and be amongst it.
Sure. And last time we chatted was in Toronto, and we talked a little bit of strategy, a little bit about how the year had gone. And then since then, you went on, I think that day was your semifinal match. You won that, made the finals in Toronto, made the finals in Cincinnati, won in Cleveland, semifinals at US Open. Y'all really went on a tear after coming on the podcast, which clearly helped some, but I'm sure there were some other factors too. How do you just talk us through the fall and tell us, what went so well for you and Nicole?
I think just a lot started to click for us. Every time you can get another match on the court, you start to feel better about your game plans, what you guys are trying to achieve and doing well, and then you can start to work on things slowly throughout the year. And I think it was just a balance of that, getting a lot of matches, getting some good wins against tough opponents, kind of getting that belief. Obviously, there was things we started to work out that we needed to work on, or, you work out each other a little bit too. When you're in a certain situation, you have an idea about what your partner might be doing in that situation, so you can kind of lean one way or look for a certain ball. And I think that's kind of all it came down to, was that we understood each other better. Obviously, you build a stronger relationship connection on the court. And it was just kind of, once we got that confidence, we kept the ball rolling.
Sure. And we didn't talk much in Toronto about your story. You're from Australia. You played at Georgia. Tell us in maybe a couple of minutes your tennis story. How'd you get started in tennis to where you are now?
Okay, a quick story. Started tennis when I was about 7. I actually started by being gifted like a totem tennis pole, which is kind of like this pole you stick in the grass, and it's like a ball attached to a string.
Okay.
I used to get out there and hit the ball, just had really good hand-eye coordination. So my dad wanted to get me started in tennis, and he also used to play a little bit. So that's kind of how that got started. And then when I was 16, I decided I needed to move for my tennis. I was probably only doing like an hour a day, 5 times a week type thing until I was 16, and knew it wasn't enough. So I went to distance education and made the move to Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived in Melbourne training at the National Academy for 2 years. And then at 18, I knew I wasn't quite ready for the pros. I was playing pro. I think maybe I was around the 400-500 in the world, but I knew that I had plenty of injuries. And at the time of deciding maybe the college pathway, I actually had an injury. So it made sense for me to at least commit to college. And I ended up going for 3 years to the University of Georgia. And I felt like, it gives you that opportunity to have that backup degree, play a lot of matches. And, those colleges will take you to tournaments throughout the year and things like that. So it didn't really inhibit me from going pro. I actually think for me personally, it helped me in transitioning. And then, moved back to Melbourne. But I can't say I'm in Melbourne too often. Being Australian, I feel like I'm always on the road, traveling a lot. And even that COVID year, I was away for 8.5 months without going home and things like that. So, just trying to figure out my base overseas potentially next year and things like that. But that's kind of the story.
So last time we chatted a little bit about kind of balancing doubles versus singles. Can you tell us if you have any plans for next year as far as doubles versus singles? commitments with a partner or what might happen in 2023?
Yeah, so I'm committed to playing with Nikki for next year,
Okay.
and definitely want to still continue with my singles. So it will be a bit of a balancing act. I think I'll start out hopefully with some opportunities at the Australian summer. Unsure, obviously, how that'll go down. We have a lot of Aussies obviously putting their hand up for wild cards.
Sure.
And then I think post Australian Open, I'll play a few ITFs. Working through a schedule of whether I go to Dubai and Doha, because they're the tough ones that come so quickly after the Australian Open. But yeah, definitely going to do all the big double events. I'm committed to honouring mine and Nikki's commitment and doing that. And then the idea is to hopefully do well early, so then it opens up the opportunity to skip a few doubles events maybe later and be able to play some singles. This back end of the year, we obviously were in quite a rush to try and get some doubles points. And I don't even think we used all of our doubles events to go towards the year-end finals. I think we only played like 8 or so events together. So we left 3 tournaments begging. So we definitely don't want that to happen. We want to try and play as much as we can at the start of the year, do well, and then hopefully it opens up a more flexible schedule for the back end of the year. But it's kind of ever evolving at this point.
Yeah. It seems like it should work out if y'all can continue that level, because I would imagine y'all are probably top 2 or 3 in terms of like points per tournament average, or however you'd want to measure that, especially since you only partnered up this summer, right? To finish in the top 10 in the race and only have about half the year. It's super, super impressive.
Yeah, I guess so, if you look at it that way. Didn't really think of that. The back end of the year, I would say we were probably one of the more successful teams. Obviously, the Czech girls being, the powerhouse team right now. I felt like we were the most in form, maybe second or third team at the time. But yeah, it obviously hurt us not playing the whole year and not having enough tournaments on the schedule. So yeah, that is kind of nice to know, and something that we can take with us going forward. But you never know with a new year and different teams changing partnerships and all that. It all happens kind of at the Australian Open, where you see a whole new doubles lineup. So we'll see how we start the season.
Let's talk about your singles game for a little bit, because you've had a lot of success in singles this fall, both qualifying for some main draw WTAs and ITFs. So tell us a little bit about your singles results this fall, and what do you think some of your strengths on the singles court are?
Yeah, my singles results are always very up and down. I know what I'm capable of. I know that I've played quite a few good players and either taken them close or occasionally got the win here and there. But yeah, the tough part is always balancing the doubles and singles. And I feel like when I start to do well in doubles, I then neglect a little bit of singles training. It's a case of playing some doubles events and then going to a singles event, and it's been 3 or 4 weeks since I've played one. And if you don't get the good draw or things like that, it's not easy to get the rhythm back and the confidence back. And that's kind of the thing that's kept me back. I think I got lucky in Tokyo. I actually played a wild card in the first round of qualifying, and that was honestly the biggest difference in why I qualified there. If you draw one of those girls who's 50, 100 in the world, I'm not winning it. And it's just kind of the facts. Like, you kind of get to feel your game, feel the court, work your way into like moving again. And so I'm kind of relying on things like that. And the same thing, even in San Diego, I managed to draw Vivara Flink, who was also, I think, entered on a protected, but that draw was stacked. There was girls between 30 in the world and 100 in the world. And I've gotten the one girl that I've taken a seeded spot, I think the number 1 seed spot. And that's another opportunity where I was able to, work my way into it. So maybe a little bit of luck in that aspect. But then when I do finally get going, I feel like I have a lot of weapons that can hurt some of these girls. I like to be aggressive on my forehand. I can sometimes play pretty heavy with the ball. Most people actually say I play a little bit like a guy, which I think, plays to my favor. Being left-handed also helps. I think, a lot of people don't like playing lefties or aren't used to it, the different spins that come with it. And I feel like I have a pretty versatile game. Like, I can move forward. I've got decent movement around the baseline. I can finish at the net if I need to. My serve's a bit of a weapon. So if I can put it all together, I've got the game there, but it's just a struggle with finding the confidence and the consistency throughout the year to keep it at that level.
Yeah. You talked a little bit about how your preparation is different for doubles and singles. Can you talk about that a little more. How if you're entering a tournament and you're only playing doubles or you're only playing singles, what does the prep look like in terms of practice time, drills you're doing, anything else that comes to mind?
Yeah, it's actually changed quite a bit because at the start of the year, I would say up until kind of San Jose, I always had a singles mindset and I always practiced like I was playing singles. And most of the time I was playing singles, my ranking was around 200. So I was going there for qualies of singles, training always singles, playing singles points. And then when I would get eliminated from the singles, I'd go into a bit more of a doubles mindset for a few days. And then the back end of the tournament, I'd start playing singles again, knowing that I might be going to a singles on Saturday or Sunday to play qualifying again. So I'd always make sure I kept singles points up, and I'd traveled with a coach for most of the past year and a bit, and was able to work on things. And then by San Jose, I actually had no coach and was committed to a very heavy high-end double schedule with, a lot of thousands on the cards. And I didn't think I'd get into many singles. So I took a step back from playing many singles points and training with singles girls, and I kind of trained a lot with Nikki and did a lot of double specific drills. So yeah, that was probably the one thing. I'm going to have to go back to playing a little bit of singles because I did feel like right after US Open, I didn't know how to run across a whole court. In all honesty, it was quite an adjustment.
You get to that midline and just stop.
I was like, wait, I have to get that. Yeah, so. But I think in terms of like time on court, it doesn't really change. I've always been someone that likes to get a good amount of time. I'll do 2 hours, in the morning and maybe an hour in the afternoon if I can. It just depends if it's, match the next day and things like that. But I also love playing points. I feel like that's the best way to keep in rhythm and work on things is when I'm playing under pressure. So especially when me and Nikki practice, if we can get doubles points, we do. And the same in singles. If I can get singles points, I will.
Yeah, that makes sense. It seems like it can be definitely a bit of a disadvantage if you have to, manage both of those things at once versus players who are able to commit, all of their time, mental energy, things like that to one or the other. So I know you have to go here in a few minutes. 2 last questions for you. Number 1, what is your favorite tournament?
Ooh. I feel like
let's hear a WTA and an ITF because I feel like we hear a lot of WTA tournaments,
question.
But a lot the ITF tournaments have a reputation, I think, for being in some random, smaller town. So maybe one ITF as well.
Okay, so WTA, I mean, it's actually ITF technically, is Australian Open.
Okay.
I feel like, obviously very biased, but I think they do a really good job at creating that, entertainment / fun zone. And it's a good time of the year in Melbourne. I think the players love the city and what they have to offer and things like that. So I think that's my favorite. And everyone always says Indian Wells, but I've not played it. I went the year that COVID hit and didn't get to play. So we'll see if that one exceeds Australian Open. But ITF, I feel like my experience of ITF is having housing and whichever family and kind of, nice people I meet along the way is what influences that decision more so. Because, some ITFs can be in the middle of nowhere. But if you have a really nice family and people that care and they just at least run the tournament well, it changes everything. So one that comes to mind, I guess, might have been Bonita Springs. That's 100K there, and I stay in the most incredible housing, and so that might be top of the list right now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So last question, I know you have to go practice with Nikki. How can we make doubles more popular?
Oh. Well, it'd be good if the WTA got on board with a lot more promotions and, and all these like videos they do about asking the players questions and things like that. If there's a lot more promotion of the doubles girls, I think that they're doing a better job of showing like shot of the month and including doubles points and things like that. I think, it starts with showing the world there is the doubles event in an aspect. I mean, as much as...
It's true. I have people like email me and they'll say like, oh, I didn't even know doubles was televised. And some people who aren't tennis fans are like, oh, I didn't know professional doubles was even a thing.
Yeah, and that's even another thing. Even something I'm realizing this week is the 3 p.m. doubles match. It's not being shown on Tennis Channel.
It's on Tennis Channel Plus.
Yeah,
so
and I'm just like... And it's like, this is like the year-end
Yeah.
finals. This is like the championships of championships, and we're not being shown on like a convenient channel. And it actually happened to me in Cincinnati. Our doubles finals wasn't shown on Tennis Channel. It was actually pickleball tournament being played.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, this is the thousands final, and it's a local pickleball tournament that's being shown. Like, clearly doubles maybe doesn't mean that much, but I think, I think we're doing the right things going forward, but there is still obviously a long way to go.
Yeah, there definitely is. Awesome. Well, Ellen, thank you for coming on for a second time, and hopefully we'll have a third time next year, and you'll be here at the year-end finals playing as well.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice.
If you want to become a smarter doubles player and start winning more matches, then join the Tennis Tribe Doubles Strategy newsletter. Every single Thursday, I'll send you a new doubles tip or tactic that you can use in your very next match. And when you join, you're going to get a free guide on how to play with more confidence and start dominating at the net in doubles. My name's Will. I'm the founder of the Tennis Tribe, and over the last 5 years, I've worked with players at every level of the game, from USTA 3.0 players all the way to Division I college programs, as well as some of the top 10 doubles players in the world. And on Thursdays, with this strategy newsletter, I share that knowledge and advice that I've gained over the years with you. So to sign up, you can go to thetennistribe.com. And again, you'll get that free net play guide when you join.